Life doesn't always go as planned. We lose jobs, face rejection, encounter setbacks that feel insurmountable. But what if those very obstacles weren't just roadblocks, but the very path itself? Well, this is the central idea of the obstacle is the way. Hidden within every difficulty is an advantage waiting to be uncovered. Businesses, teams, and individuals have turned crushing adversity into victory, not by avoiding hardship, but by simply using it. The Stoics believed that every challenge is an opportunity, not just for success, but for strength, resilience, and virtue. They called it Iterate, excellence in all things. And when they said the obstacle is the way, they weren't speaking in metaphors. They meant that life's hardest, most heartbreaking moments can be transformed through endurance, courage, and wisdom. The great writer Georges-Louis Bourget put it best: all things have been given to us for a purpose. Even our humiliations, misfortunes, embarrassments. They are raw material, clay, waiting to be shaped into something greater. And the key to doing this? Well, mastering 3 essential disciplines. 1. Perception, how you see and interpret obstacles. 2. Action, how you'd respond to them with decisive movement. And then 3. Will, how you endure and adapt when things don't go your way. In this summary of The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday, we'll break down 15 of the most powerful lessons, ideas that could change the way you see every setback in your life. The first 3 ideas introduce the core concepts behind this philosophy. Then we'll explore how to develop the 3 critical skills: perception, action, and will, that allow you to turn obstacles into opportunities. So, let's get started. Idea number 1, the universal response to obstacles. What do you do when something stands in your way? When a plan falls apart? When you're rejected? When life throws the unexpected at you? Well, most people react the same way. Frustration, fear, doubt. They freeze. They blame circumstances, other people, or just sheer bad luck. But what if I told you the problem isn't the obstacle itself? It's mainly how you see it. Every obstacle is unique, but the emotions they trigger are universal. Anxiety, confusion, resentment, even despair. And when these emotions take over, we just get stuck. We tell ourselves the economy is bad, the system is unfair, or that we're simply not good enough. But history proves something different. Obstacles don't stop the greats. They shape them. It's worth noting here that obstacles come in different forms. They can come in mental, such as fear, self-doubt, inexperience. Physical, lack of resources, distance, disability, for example. Then there's the emotional, loss, grief, pain, rejection. And then there's perceived societal expectations, such as limiting beliefs, arbitrary rules. Most of us see these as reasons to stop. But the truth? Every challenge comes with the seed of an advantage, if you know how to look for it. So what's a practical application of this idea? How do you begin to start shifting your perspective? Well, here's a simple exercise. The next time you hit an obstacle, instead of saying, "Why is this happening to me?" you can ask something like, "What's one thing I can learn from this?" Or, "How could this make me stronger?" Or even, "What's the hidden advantage that I'm not seeing here?" Now, write down your answers. Even the smallest shift in this perspective can turn a roadblock into a stepping stone. Because in the end, obstacles don't define you, your response does. The obstacle isn't the problem, your reaction is. And if you can change how you see challenges, you'll start turning them into opportunities. The choice is yours. So idea number 2, obstacles as fuel. What if every obstacle in your life wasn't a dead end, but fuel? What if the very things that frustrate you, block you, or even slow you down could actually push you further than you ever imagined? Well, history proves one thing. Great individuals aren't just the ones who overcome obstacles. They're the ones who use them. Like oxygen to a fire, adversity feeds ambition. It forces creativity. It sharpens resilience. The strongest people, the ones who leave a mark, aren't those who avoid problems. They're the ones who turn problems into power. This isn't about pretending things aren't hard. Life throws real challenges at us. Failures, setbacks, rejection, loss. But the difference between those who rise and those who fall is in the questions they ask. Most people think, "Why is this happening to me?" But the ones who thrive ask, "How can I use this?" And this isn't blind positivity. It's opportunism in its purest form. It's about training yourself to think, not "this isn't so bad," but "I can make this good." the job you lost. Maybe it's just the push you needed to build something of your own. The rejection you faced. Maybe it forces you to refine your skills until no one can ignore you. The failure that stings. Maybe it's exposing a flaw that once fixed will make you unstoppable. And it's not about waiting for better circumstances. It's about using what's in front of you, because that's what the greats do. So, how can we apply this? Well, here's how you start. The next time something goes wrong, don't react, reframe. Ask yourself, how can I use this? What unexpected advantage is hidden in a situation? Or maybe even, what would the strongest, most resilient version of me do right now? Once again, write down your answers. The more you train yourself to find opportunity in adversity, the more unstoppable you will become. So, most people let obstacles slow them down. The greats let them fuel the fire. Which one will you be? Idea number 3, the 3 disciplines of overcoming obstacles. So, what separates those who break through obstacles from those who get crushed by them? Is it luck, talent, natural resilience? Well, no, it's discipline. Every person who has ever turned a challenge into an opportunity has mastered 3 things. Number 1 is perception, so how they see and interpret the problem. Then number 2 is action, which is the strategy, creativity, and persistence they use to tackle it. Then lastly, will, the inner strength to endure, adapt, and keep moving forward. This process may be simple, but simple doesn't mean easy. So let's take a look at perception, the power of seeing clearly. So the way you see a problem will shape your ability to solve it. If you let fear, frustration, or self-doubt cloud your thinking, the obstacle will feel bigger than it is. But if you can strip away emotion and see things objectively, you're going to gain an advantage. The Stoics practice this relentlessly, separating reality from illusion, signal from noise. They didn't ignore hardship, they just refused to panic. So when you face a setback, ask, am I seeing this clearly, or am I letting emotion distort it? What's within my control right now? Or maybe even, what is the actual problem, not just how I feel about it? So, master perception and you'll stop reacting. And then you can start responding. Now let's take a look at action, moving with purpose. So, most people either freeze when facing an obstacle or waste energy attacking it blindly. But real progress comes from right action, purposeful, strategic movement forward. Step by step, action by action, you dismantle obstacles. Persistence and flexibility guide you, not reckless force. Obstacles demand creativity and not just effort. Brute force alone won't break through. The key is to adapt, refine, and keep pushing forward. So when faced with a challenge, you can ask the following questions. What's the smallest step I can take right now? What options haven't I considered yet? Or how can I turn the situation to my advantage? Now let's look at will, the strength to endure. Some obstacles can't be solved instantly. Some require endurance. This is where will comes in. The ability to hold steady, to withstand pressure, to keep going when nothing seems to be working. Will isn't about talent or intelligence. It's about refusing to break, about understanding that setbacks aren't final. They're just part of life's process. So when things get hard, ask yourself this. What if this struggle is making me stronger? What's one thing I can control right now? And how would my strongest, most resilient self respond? So let's have some practical application of these ideas. To master obstacles, discipline yourself to follow this process. Well, number 1, we can pause. So before reacting, step back, remove emotion from the equation. Then number 2, plan. Identify one small, concrete action to take immediately. And in 3, probably the hardest, persist. If progress is slow, adjust, but never stop. Obstacles don't crush those who are disciplined. They shape them. They train your perception. You master the right action and strengthen your will. And no challenge will be too great for you. So now moving on to idea 4, which is part of our perception idea. So practice objectivity. Imagine something frustrating happens to you. For example, your project gets rejected, somebody cuts you off in traffic, or maybe you just lose an opportunity you're really counting on. Instantly you think, this is bad. But pause for a second. That thought itself, this is bad, isn't a fact. It's a judgment. The fact is simply, this happened. And the rest? That's your mind adding unnecessary weight to it. The Stoics had a simple but powerful insight. It's not events that disturb us, but our opinions about them. And learning to strip away those opinions is the key to staying steady, clear-headed, and in control. So, objectivity is the skill of seeing things as they are, not as we fear them to be. It means separating reality from interpretation. Great warriors understood this. Miyamoto Musashi, the legendary samurai, trained his mind as rigorously as his body, because in a fight, emotion is the enemy. And the same principle applies in business and in relationships and in everyday life. When you react emotionally, you lose clarity. But when you step back, see the situation without bias, you will make better decisions. The Stoics practice objectivity through mental exercises. For example, Epictetus told his students to break down intimidating people. If they felt overwhelmed by somebody's power or status, he'd remind them that person grunts when they wake up, stumbles in the dark, and makes mistakes just like you. Marcus Aurelius even did the same with material things. Expensive wine, just old fermented grapes. Roasted meat is just simply a dead animal. By stripping away illusions, he saw things for what they truly were, not what emotions or society made them seem. So here's a practical application. Here's how you can start practicing objectivity in your own life. Number one, you've got to name the facts. When something happens, separate what actually occurred from how you feel about it. Then number two, give advice to yourself like you would a friend. If somebody else had your exact problem, what would you tell them? Then lastly, strip things down to their essence. When something feels overwhelming, reduce it to its core. What actually matters here? So training yourself to be objective doesn't mean ignoring your emotions. It means not letting them distort your reality. See things clearly and you'll start making better moves, staying calmer, and turning problems into opportunities. Because the obstacle is never as bad as it seems. It's always how you look at it that matters. So idea number 5, and our second for perception. Remove yourself from the equation. How much of your stress, fear, and frustration comes from a single word? I, for example. I hate public speaking. I screwed up. I was hurt by this. That little word makes every setback feel personal. It turns obstacles into reflections of our ego, our fears, and our very own insecurities. But what happens when you strip the I away? Well, the event remains, but its power over you weakens. The truth is, most things aren't about you. A rejection isn't proof you're a failure, it's just a rejection. A difficult task isn't a personal attack, it's just a challenge. And when you remove your ego from the equation, problems just shrink to their actual size. Take Richard Branson's approach to business. He has famously said, business opportunities are like buses. There's always another one coming. Another meeting, another deal, another setback. None of it is life or death. What seems like failure today could actually be a blessing in disguise. The less you take things personally, the more clearly you can see the next move. And this applies absolutely everywhere. For example, somebody criticizes your work. It's not about you. It's about improving the work. Or you make a mistake. It's not proof that you're not good enough. It's just information to adjust your approach. Or you lose an opportunity. Maybe it was never the right one to begin with. So here's a simple way to practice this idea. Firstly, we've got to zoom out. When facing a challenge, ask, will this matter in a year, in 5 years? Often the answer is no. Then we've got to reframe our language. Instead of saying, I failed, say, that attempt didn't work. Or instead of saying, I'm bad at this, say, I haven't mastered it yet. And then lastly, we need to detach from the outcome. See each event as neutral, just another step in a much bigger picture. The less you see obstacles as personal, the easier they are to handle. Strip away the I, and you strip away unnecessary suffering. Problems then become challenges, setbacks become lessons, and failures, well, they become redirections. Because in the grand scheme of things, you're not stuck. You're just adjusting course. So now idea number 6, which is perception idea 3, is it up to you? When faced with a challenge, ask yourself one simple question. Is there anything I can do? That question separates those who break through obstacles from those who are crushed by them. The relentless don't need perfect conditions. They don't need certainty. They just need a sliver of possibility, because that's enough to act. This mindset shift is one of the most powerful tools you can develop. It's the difference between feeling trapped and seeing a way forward. Recovering addicts live by the serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. This is quite simply ancient Stoic wisdom in its purest form. They don't focus on their past, their trauma, or the years they lost. They focus on only what they can control, because that is the only way forward. The Stoics had a phrase for this, which I'm about to pronounce really badly, ta'ep emin, ta'uk ep emin. What this means is, what is up to us, what is not up to us. So, what is up to us? Well, our emotions, so how we react to situations, our judgments, the meaning we assign to events, our creativity, the solutions we come up with, our attitude, whether we complain or adapt, our perspective, whether we see obstacles as dead ends or challenges, our desires, what we choose to focus on, our decisions, the actions we take, even our determination, whether we persist or quit. And what's not up to us? Well, other people, market conditions, the past, random misfortunes. We waste enormous energy fighting things we cannot change, arguing, complaining, blaming. But none of that moves us forward. And the greatest waste of human potential, well, it's just obsessing over what we can't control instead of mastering what we can. Did an investor reject your pitch? Not up to you, but refining your idea and improving your approach, that is. Somebody's stolen your idea? Once again, not up to you, but innovating, pivoting, or fighting for what's yours, that is. A project falls apart, once again, not up to you, but what you build next, that is. So now let's find a practical application with this mental exercise. So firstly, we're going to write down the obstacle in front of you. You're then going to make two lists. On one side, write everything about it that's not in your control. And on the other, write what is within your control. And then forget the first list, burn it if you need to. Your focus is only on the second list. To see an obstacle as a challenge rather than a dead end is a choice. And that choice is always yours. So next time you hit a roadblock, ask yourself, is it up to me? And if the answer is yes, even in the smallest way, act. Because action is how obstacles turn into stepping stones. So, idea number 7, which is our last perception idea, think differently. Steve Jobs was famous for his reality distortion field, a mindset that rejected limitations. People often told him something was impossible. His response, why not? They said, we need more time. He answered, no, you can do it faster. Now, Jobs wasn't delusional. He simply understood that most limitations are self-imposed. What often we call impossible is just a lack of creativity, courage, or persistence. Napoleon, for example, told his soldiers before a great battle, there shall be no Alps. He meant that obstacles are only obstacles if we let them be. And this is exactly how high achievers think. Not what can't be done, but how can it be done? Not this is a disaster, but where's the opportunity in this? So, most people are conditioned to play it safe. We're often taught to be realistic, listen to feedback, compromise. But what if the people giving advice are wrong? What if their objections are just fear disguised as logic? I mean, when Jobs demanded a new kind of glass for the first iPhone, the manufacturer panicked. We don't have the capacity. And Jobs calmly replied, don't be afraid, you can do it, get your mind around it. And then within 6 months, they did the impossible. And the world is shaped by people who refuse to take "it can't be done" for an answer. Most people only see the problem. They don't look for the hidden opportunity. But if you train yourself to do this, well then everything will change. Laura Ingalls Wilder put it best. There is good in everything if only we look for it. For example, that annoying rival at work. They might push you to be sharper, for example. They force you to even raise your standards. They even drive you to be better. Sports psychologists once studied elite athletes who suffered career-threatening injuries. At first, they felt fear and doubt, but afterward, they reported greater resilience, mental strength, and deeper motivation. And this is called adversarial growth. And it proves Nietzsche right. What doesn't kill me does make me stronger. Now, the greater the struggle, the greater the growth. The only question is, will you choose to see it? So, a practical application of this idea in the form of a mental exercise to train yourself to think differently. So, firstly, reframe every impossible into a challenge. Instead of saying, this can't be done, ask, what's one way it could be possible? 2, look for the hidden advantage. Every obstacle has a lesson, an insight, or an unexpected benefit. Find it. Then lastly, when facing a setback, ask, what's the best thing that could have come from this? Make it a habit to search for opportunity, not just problems. Now, the people who shape the world aren't the ones who avoid obstacles. They're quite simply the ones who see obstacles as opportunities. Now, the only thing standing in your way is how you choose to look at it. So, what will you see? Moving on to idea number 8, get moving. Our first action idea. Great people don't wait. They don't ask for permission, and they don't wait for the right time. And if they don't care if things aren't ideal, they just start anywhere, anyhow. Most people assume the world will wait for them, but while they hesitate, the world moves on. The job goes to somebody else, the idea fades, the window of opportunity closes, and then they wonder why nothing is happening. The truth? They created the opening for those obstacles to grow. We delay when we should initiate. We jog when we should be sprinting. We hesitate when we should be acting. And then we wonder why we feel stuck. Seneca put it best. The one thing all fools have in common is they are always getting ready to start. They know the problem. They even often know the solution. But they often tell themselves, in fact we all tell ourselves, I'll start tomorrow. I'll wait until the conditions are better. Maybe even I need a perfect plan first. Well, this is the most seductive lie in the world. Because while you wait, somebody else is moving. And while you make excuses, somebody else is taking action. Every person you admire, every success story you know, they didn't wait. They started, and they did it in circumstances far less ideal than yours. Momentum doesn't come to you, you create it. So, here's how you break through hesitation and start moving. So number 1 is we need to lower the bar. We're going to stop waiting for the perfect conditions. Just take the first step, any step. Number 2, we're going to use the 2-minute rule. If something feels overwhelming, commit to just 2 minutes of action. Starting is often the hardest part. And in 3, we're going to set a deadline. Give ourselves 24 hours to make a decision and move forward. No more waiting. The only way to build momentum is to act. The conditions will never be perfect and you'll never feel 100% ready. But that doesn't matter. Get moving now because the world won't wait for you. But your success is waiting on you to start. Idea number 9, and it's action idea number 2, practice persistence. If you want to overcome obstacles, drill this into your mind. Failure won't stop me. Distractions won't throw me off. I will keep chipping away at the obstacle until it's gone. Resistance is futile against you. Persistence isn't flashy. It's not particularly exciting, but it's what separates those who succeed from those who quit. In 1878, Thomas Edison wasn't the only person working on the incandescent light bulb, but he was the only one willing to test 6,000 different filaments. And one of those filaments, a single strand of beard hair from one of his assistants. Now that's not genius, it's persistence. He kept inching closer and closer, experiment after experiment, until he found the answer. Even his rival, Nikola Tesla, mocked his approach. If Edison needed to find a needle in a haystack, he would proceed to examine straw after straw until he found it. But guess what? That's exactly what worked. Because sometimes the only way forward is through. So if you're not willing to do what others won't, you won't get what others can't. The obstacle in front of you is not going anywhere. You can't outthink it, you can't wait it out, and you can't wish it away. All you can do is press forward relentlessly. Margaret Thatcher put it best, you turn if you want to, the lady's not for turning. People assume great victories happen in flashes of genius. They might picture a scientist having a eureka moment, a general winning a war with one brilliant maneuver, or a billionaire coming up with $1 million idea overnight. But real success comes from slow, relentless pressure. Ulysses S. Grant didn't win the Civil War in a single battle. He ground his opponents down through persistence. Edison didn't invent the light bulb in one stroke of genius. He wore down the problem until a solution emerged. Now, what's their secret? Well, unity of purpose, deafness to doubt, and an unwavering drive to keep going. It can be summed up in this phrase. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus boiled his philosophy down to 2 words: persist and resist. Persist in your efforts, resist the temptation to give up. It's simple, but everything. You don't need to panic, you don't need to rush, you don't need to despair. You quite simply just need to keep going. Here's a simple way to apply these ideas. Number 1 is defining your needle in the haystack. What problem are you solving? What goal are you chasing? 2, you need to commit to relentless experimentation. Set a number. How many times are you willing to try before you quit? 100, 500, or even 1,000? 3, we're going to adopt the Edison mindset. Every failure isn't failure, it's data. Every setback isn't a stop, it's a lesson. Keep pushing. Everybody faces obstacles. Most people stop. But if you persist, and if you refuse to back down, you will wear the problem down. The only question is, will you keep going long enough to win. Idea number 10, which is action idea number 3, iterate. What if failure wasn't the end, but the beginning? Wendell Phillips put it perfectly. What is defeat? Nothing but education. Nothing but the first step to something better. Failure isn't an endpoint, it's a stepping stone. Engineers have a saying, failure is a feature, it's not a joke. Failure is a necessary function of success. Every mistake reveals something new, and every wrong turn eliminates one bad path. So every failure, if used correctly, brings you closer to the right answer. This is how scientists work. When an experiment fails, they don't get emotional, they adjust the variables, tweak the hypothesis, and try again. They certainly don't take it personally. Likewise, the best companies don't crumble when a product flops. They analyze, adapt, and iterate. They don't bet everything on a single shot. They structure their approach so that every failure moves them forward. But most people fail and learn nothing. They get defensive. They may even ignore feedback, or they refuse to change. The world doesn't wait for the people who refuse to adapt. Those who fail well move forward. Those who don't get left behind. Now, when something goes wrong, resist the urge to dwell. Instead, ask yourself, firstly, what went wrong? Then, what can be improved? And maybe then number 3, what am I missing? This is the difference between iterating and quitting. One sees failure as data, the other sees failure as defeat. So what's a practical application of this idea? Well, here's how you start iterating instead of stagnating. Number 1, lower the stakes. Treat everything as an experiment, not a final verdict. Then number 2, fail small and fail fast. Don't wait until you're ready. Test early and adjust. And lastly, build feedback loops. Get input, analyze results, and refine continuously. Now, most people fear failure, but the people who succeed, they fail more than anybody else. They just fail better. They tweak, refine, and keep moving. So the next time something doesn't go as planned, don't stop, iterate. Because every mistake is a lesson if you choose to learn from it. Idea 11, and the last idea in the action, the gift of struggle. Ralph Waldo Emerson warned of the dangers of an easy life. Comfort makes us complacent, struggle wakes us up. A person who never faces hardship grows soft, dull, and weak. But those who are pushed, tested, and defeated, they are the ones who truly grow. They are forced to rely on their wits. They are forced to confront their ignorance and blind spots. And they are humbled and stripped of arrogance. Therefore, they become skilled, disciplined, and grounded in reality. Struggle isn't just something to endure. It's something to extract value from. So, we now have the infinite formula, winning even in a loss, because every obstacle contains a secondary opportunity, a way to win even when things don't go your way. If somebody you love betrays you, you can practice forgiveness. If your business fails, you can practice acceptance. If you're completely powerless, you can still help others. No situation is devoid of meaning. Every challenge and struggle is an opportunity to do your best, be your best, rise above the situation, even if it's only in spirit. The strongest people in history weren't just those who succeeded, they were the ones who refused to let failure break them. They transformed their struggles into wisdom, resilience, and strength. So the final test here is, can you let go? At some point, you must be willing to roll the dice and lose. You must come to terms and accept that your plans might not work. That despite your best efforts, things might not go your way. But here's the truth. Even if you lose, you still win if you've learned, if you've grown, or if you've given everything you had. Quite simply, not everything is possible, but trying always is. So here's how to turn struggle into fuel in a practical way. We start by asking, what am I gaining from this? Not every battle is won, but every struggle teaches something. Find it. Then we're going to reframe hardship as training. Struggle isn't punishment, it's preparation. And then lastly, we need to detach from outcomes. Do everything in your power, but be willing to lose. Growth is the real victory. So as you can see, obstacles aren't just barriers, they are gifts in disguise. But only if you have the courage to see them that way. So the next time you struggle, or a struggle finds you, don't just survive it, use it. Idea number 12, build your inner citadel. Our first idea of the will. If you faint in the day of your adversity, your strength is small. Proverbs 24:10. Are you ready for when life gets hard? Could you endure if something around you collapsed? Most people assume their weaknesses are permanent. They believe their disadvantages are fixed, that the way they are born is the way they will always be. And so they remain weak. They atrophy. But others refuse to accept their limitations. They push themselves, reshape their minds and bodies, and prepare for the worst, even as they hope it never comes. This is what the Stoics called the inner citadel, a fortress within that no external adversity can break. But this fortress isn't something you have, it's something you have to build. When times are good, train for when they aren't, because when difficulty arrives, it's the strength of your mind and your spirit that you will rely on. Quite simply, the world will not get easier. You cannot soften reality. The only thing you can control is your own strength. Theodore Roosevelt was born weak and sickly. He could have accepted that fate, but instead he forced himself into intense physical training, building himself into one of the toughest men in history. Marcus Aurelius ruled Rome through plagues, war, and betrayal. He didn't ask for an easy life, he prepared for a difficult one. And the lesson here? Well, strength is not built through comfort, it is built through pressure. Like an arch that only holds under weight, you must add stress to your system to make it stronger. So ask yourself, are you okay being alone? Can you keep going when things get worse? Are you comfortable with uncertainty? Can you handle the pressure? Because life will test you, and when that moment comes, it will demand an answer. So, how do you even begin to build your inner citadel? Well, the first thing we can do is exposing ourselves to discomfort. We need to do something hard every day, physically, mentally, or emotionally. Then we need to train in adversity before it comes. Seek voluntary challenges so real ones don't break you. And then lastly, developing self-reliance. Learn to stand on your own, make your own decisions, and trust your own resilience. You cannot control the storms that life will throw at you, but you can build a fortress inside yourself that no storm can destroy. And when life tests you, you won't just survive, you'll stand unshaken. Now that is the power of the inner citadel. Now, idea number 13, love everything that happens. Amor Fati, will idea number 2. To do great things, you will face setbacks. You will endure tragedy, and you will suffer losses. Now, most people see this as something to bear, something to tolerate until the better days come. But endurance alone here isn't enough. You must quite simply learn to love it all, the good and the bad. Because once you stop wishing for things to be different and start embracing what is, you become unshakable. Now that is Amor Fati, the love of fate. Most people fight against reality. They complain, resist, and wish things were different. But all this does is waste energy. The Stoics took a completely different approach. For example, this is what I have to do, then I will love doing it. This is my challenge, then I will embrace it fully. Instead of rejecting life's hardships, they turned them into fuel. For example, Marcus Aurelius didn't curse the challenges of ruling Rome. He accepted them as his duty. Friedrich Nietzsche didn't just endure suffering. He welcomed it as a price of greatness. Thomas Edison didn't see his failures as setbacks. He called them lessons. When you love everything that happens, when you refuse to see misfortune as misfortune, you quite simply become unstoppable. Because nobody can break a person who chooses not to be broken. So, how do you begin to start practicing Amor Fati? Well, firstly, stop saying, why me? And start saying, good. No matter what happens, train yourself to see it as an opportunity. Secondly, we're going to make joy a decision. Decide to embrace what life gives you, not just tolerate it. And then 3, redirecting our energy. Don't waste time resisting reality. Use it, adapt, and thrive. As we know, life will give you challenges, and whether you like it or not. But how you meet them is your choice. So the next time something doesn't go your way, don't just endure it, love it. Amor Fati. So idea number 14, the penultimate idea, and is will idea number 3, negative thinking. So most people don't prepare for setbacks. They refuse to believe they'll happen. They assume their plans will work, their expectations will be met, life will unfold as they wish. Then, when reality doesn't cooperate, they're quite simply shocked. Mike Tyson put it bluntly after losing everything. If you're not humble, life will visit humbleness upon you. So the wise don't wait to be humbled. They prepare in advance. And that's not out of pessimism, but out of readiness. In modern business, companies conduct pre-mortems. And this is a planning exercise where they assume the project has already failed. They then work backward to identify what went wrong. This isn't new. The Stoics called it premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. And this is because they understood a simple truth. If something can go wrong, it will. If obstacles can appear, they will. And if misfortune can strike, it will. So the question isn't if problems will arise. The question then is, are you ready when they do? So a wise person plans for disruption, not to avoid hardship, but so that when it comes, they are already fitted for either victory or defeat. So, how do we prepare for a reality? Well, we can ask ourselves, what if my plan fails? Then I will. What if my expectations are wrong? Instead I'll just. Or, what if disaster strikes? No problem, I can always. Sometimes the only honest answer to what if is, it will suck, but I'll endure. I won't break. Every plan must make concessions to reality. People will fail you. Mistakes will happen, and circumstances will change. Anticipation doesn't make problems easier, but ensures you're ready for them to be as hard as they need to be. Would you rather learn your lessons in a pre-mortem where you can adjust, or maybe in a post-mortem when it's already too late? Here's how to start training yourself to anticipate setbacks. So firstly, we're going to run a personal pre-mortem. Assume failure, then work backward to prevent it. We're then going to look at the worst case scenarios. So if disaster hits, what's our backup plan? Then lastly, we're going to practice emotional resilience. Prepare yourself mentally so that when things do go wrong, you meet them with steadiness and not shock. Hope for the best, but prepare for the worst, because setbacks will come. The only question is, will you be ready for them? So idea number 15, and our last idea of the will and last idea of the video, unbeatable cheerfulness. So you cannot defeat a person who smiles through everything you throw at them. Not somebody who turns every misfortune into fuel, not somebody who eats obstacles for breakfast, and not somebody who laughs at hardship instead of fearing it. Most people endure difficulty by gritting their teeth, just trying to get through it. But the strongest, they grin in defiance. They meet life struggles not with fear, but with amusement. Few things frustrate an enemy or life's obstacles more than a person who refuses to be shaken. Now, the goal is not, I can tolerate this, I think I can handle this. The goal is, I love this, I welcome this. This is what I was made for. Because if something happened, then it was meant to happen. And if it was meant to happen, then we were meant to use it to our advantage. The Stoics remind us, we do not choose what happens to us, but we always choose how we feel about it. And why would we ever choose to feel anything but good? Now, a person who finds joy in hardship is quite simply unbreakable. So here's how you develop this mindset. Number 1, smile at adversity. Literally. Train yourself to physically smile when something hard happens. It rewires your brain. Then number 2, reframe every struggle as an inside joke. Instead of complaining, say, of course, another test. Let's go. Then lastly, ask, how will the strongest version of me react? Then step into that version of yourself. The world will throw difficulties at you. It will try to wear you down. But if you choose to meet it with a grin, to laugh in its face, to see everything as fuel, you win. Because you cannot break somebody who refuses to be broken. So there you have it. Life will always throw obstacles in your way. Some will be small frustrations. Others will be crushing setbacks. But as we've seen, the problem is never the obstacle itself. It's always how you respond to it. The people who rise above hardship don't have fewer challenges. They just approach them differently. They see clearly, act decisively, and strengthen their will so that nothing can break them. So, you need to master your perception. Train yourself to see opportunity where others see roadblocks. Then we're going to need to commit to action. Get moving, stay persistent, and adapt when needed. And lastly, we're going to fortify our wills, build resilience, prepare for setbacks, and meet adversity with a smile. This isn't just philosophy. It's a blueprint for turning life's difficulties into fuel for growth. The obstacle isn't in the way. The obstacle is the way. Now, if you got value from this, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more deep dives into the most powerful books. And let me know in the comments which of these 15 ideas resonated with you the most. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.